Hello, Yep and Yeti back again with another review. Today we'll be reviewing the Sony XM6, the flagship of Sony's headphones. These sorry about that. These headphones retail at a price of $460. They have Bluetooth 5.3, SBC, AAC, LDAC, and LC3. So if you have a phone that supports LDAC, these guys would be perfect. They also have 30 hours with ANC on. They're foldable, so they're great if you have limited storage and need a compact case. They also have a carrying case. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. This is their carrying case. It has like some kind of magnetic key or some kind of lock here. And inside you pretty much have a little compartment here for the cables as well as putting the headphones on. They're quite actually compact in comparison to their original design with the XM5, since the XM5s had a non-foldable design, so they occupied more space and required a larger carrying case, whereas the XM6 have pretty much a more compact case due to the folding design. They also have an app support. They have a bunch of features in their apps. Sony has pretty much one of the best apps out there, as you can pretty much EQ the sound signature, while pretty much having a bunch of other features like speak to chat or what other thing do they have, or LDAC or multi-point really. And yeah, so let's talk about the pros. So these guys have arguably one of the best ANC performance out in the market. They're pretty much directly competing against the Bose and the AirPod Max. The ANC performance is very good on the stands that they have a lot of ways to regulate the cabinet pressure. And what I mean by cabinet pressure is that when there's a lot of ANC or a lot of noise that the ANC needs to cancel out, it produces a type of pressure, a differential pressure, to pretty much drown out that noise. Let me get the Bose, for instance. So the Bose, in my opinion, does have a much more effective ANC. When I put them on, it does cancel out a noise, but it has white noise. And the pressure from the ANC is stronger than the XM6. So what that means is that if you have ears that are incredibly sensitive to that pressure, it is a bit discomforting to listen with the Bose, especially if you're going like 11 hours in a flight or a commute. So when it comes to ANC, it would be pretty much on the favor of the XM6, especially since, you know, that pressure does tend to get to some people, especially those who are more vulnerable to that pressure. So when it comes to ANC and which one is the best, I think the XM6 are a good pair of headphones and an alternative to the Bose. I think the Bose ANC is a bit more effective. It's just that pressure might be too much for some ears. It's also very lightweight. These headphones are pretty, they're plastically, so they feel like a little toy really, but they do feel like a cloud in my head, so it doesn't feel too bad. I think it's very comfortable. The only issue also is just the shallow ear cups here. They're a bit shallow in comparison to the competition. I think the AirPod Max has a much more deeper ear cups. Like, let me show you this. Let me just take out the smart case here. Yeah, you can see how deep it is in comparison to the Sonys. The Bose also has that issue as well. I think they're a little bit more angled, so they might be a bit better, but it kind of is the same way with the Sonys, in my opinion, when it comes to the ergonomics of the headphones. What else do they have? And yeah, they have a hard case, which is better than having no hard case, because surprisingly, a lot of headphones don't have hard cases for some apparent reason, or tend to have a bag or something. The worst offender is really the AirPod Max with their smart case. This is really ridiculous, and I don't understand the thinking here. This was the dumbest thing I ever experienced, but you know, it's just how the market is at the moment. People will pay for it, but yeah, just the Sony XM6 does have a hard case. Oh yeah, and they sound very good. They have a very versatile sound signature. The app pretty much helps elevate that experience more, especially when you have a 10-band EQ that can pretty much cater to your sound preference, as well as additional features such as enhancing that bass. The bass is really good. It sounds very crisp and smooth with the highs and mids. No complaints over there. I think they sound pretty well and pretty good. Quite enjoyable. The only cons with these headphones is the hinges. I have seen too many examples at Reddit that the hinges here break off easily. So if you do intend to buy these headphones, you have to baby them. These headphones are susceptible to breaking. I think it's just because of their design. I think something about Sony putting too much plastic on the hinges just doesn't have enough support. Just like in comparison to like the AirPod Max, like look at this. The AirPod Max has metal here. Like the hinges are just metal. They feel strong, and I have never seen anybody really complain about that. So yeah, I mean just the fact that this is a prevalent issue with the XM6. It's something that has to be pretty much announced and notified, especially when recommending headphones. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, poor build quality on Sony's end, but everything else is pretty good. It's just that those hinges are just the biggest issue. They also don't have like USB connection where you can pretty much plug in the USB cable and listen to them off from there. I would have liked something like that. Maybe have Sony's own version of lossless audio with, how the AirPod Max, you can pretty much plug in the USB-C cable while listening to music or YouTube videos. So they don't have that. So another issue too is just controls. My preference is that I would like to have more physical buttons instead of touch-sensitive controls. I just don't like touch-sensitive controls. They're very difficult to pretty much manage with, especially if you have gloves. So I so far don't have any issue with it. I actually do find the controls pretty responsive, and they do actually work well. It's just that I would prefer physical buttons instead of touch-sensitive controls. That's just my preference. They do have an off-switch button, but then again, I really don't understand why they're making the power button like the Bluetooth connection. It's another thing I really don't like. They also have an auxiliary port, so you can pretty much take a 3.5 millimeter auxiliary cable and just plug it into your phone or your laptop, as well as a ANC and pretty much on transparency mode here that you can switch off to. So yeah, that's pretty much my entire experience so far with these headphones. I think they're a pretty good build. They have excellent ANC, arguably the best ANC, depending on how sensitive you are to the pressure. I think they have an incredibly good app. So if you like to, modify that, that sound signature, you can. It's pretty seamlessly. The app is just incredible, and it just elevates the entire experience. So yeah, I mean, the Sony XM5s are pretty good headphones, especially if you get them like, $400 or less. Sony tends to pretty much lower the prices, especially throughout the year. And yeah, these headphones are a great pair of headphones that pretty much could and outcompete a lot of their competition. It's just those hinges are the only thing that really makes it difficult to recommend it. I don't know. Sony needs to get better with their quality control when it comes to the hinges. But overall, it's a great experience. It does have one of the best ANC performance out there. Just be mindful with the hinges.
Hey, have a nice time.